It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a weekly podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
And my name is Mike.
And this week, we've got more Supergirl casting news. This movie is, I guess, the second DCU film to get into production, so I guess they need to start getting that casting done if they're going to start shooting that. Skeleton Crew gives Goonie vibes in a new trailer, and Mike, you just watched it, so we'll get your fresh reaction here in a little bit to watching that. Surprise news, Marvel announced their entire 2025 Disney Plus release calendar this week in a little short video and more.
Yeah, that was an interesting week for me because I didn't know where that news was coming from, and I was seeing these like screenshots from like Ironheart and like stills from Wonder Man. I'm like, what, I was like, what is this coming from? Like, I was like, is there some sort of like convention happening somewhere in like South America in the middle of the week that I don't know about? Yeah. And then I finally put it together. I was like, oh, it's like a sizzle reel that they're putting in front of Agatha All Along. I was like, oh, okay, it's all making sense now. It took a little while for me to like get up to speed.
And the thing was, I got it through like a leaked trailer. Like it was leaked content before it was officially done. So I was like, oh, I wonder what this is leaked from. Like I was the same kind of method as you. I was like, where are they showing this? Is it like I think maybe like an investor's call or something like that, or some sort of TV streaming event that's like off the records. And I was like, oh, it's leaked. And then, an hour or two later, it finally popped up officially on YouTube, which I should probably link that below because I did not link that here. So we'll link the official link below as we go through the show, Mike. But it's been a pretty fall week here. Halloween is over. It's come and gone. It was the first like really rainy day. Like the wind's blowing, the leaves are blowing around, it's kind of damp and rainy on Halloween. I'm like, this is real Halloween vibes, like real hocus pocus energy going on in my neighborhood that day.
Yeah, we had some pretty good weather and fall vibes out here on the West Coast as well. And speaking of fall spooky vibes, we are going to be talking Agatha All Along at the end of the show. So stay tuned if you want to hear our reactions to the season finale, series finale, ? Who knows exactly where this fits in. Not a lot of Marvel shows out there getting second seasons, so if this is a one shot, we'll talk all about it at the end of the show.
And really, honestly, it is a second season of WandaVision at the end of the day, right? Kind of thing. It's like a spiritual successor, but it's the same characters kind of going forward. So is that Marvel's approach? Like, season 2, some shows will get season 2, some will just get a successor show.
Yeah, and I think like Paul Bettany was like recently like on the record in an interview saying that Vision Quest is like part of like a trilogy, like a third, Agatha All Along and WandaVision. So if that's the case, Vision Quest will kind of be our next incarnation of this story. But we'll talk about that at the end of the show. But we have more pressing issues at the top of the show here.
Yes.
Probably the biggest news between Chris and I all week, is innovation. Innovation in plastic, injection plastic molding.
Well, yes. And this is something that Mike shared with me originally, and he missed the most important part of this whole thing he shared with me, which is the funniest part to me.
My brain wasn't ready to see it.
Yes. So everybody knows Moana 2 is coming up. It's November, right? This month, I think. Or December. I know the tickets are on sale. And when tickets go on sale, you obviously get the next best thing along with the movie, popcorn vessels. So we had our Moana popcorn vessel reveal. It's the wave from Moana. It's clear wave. Top flips back, put your popcorn in it, fine. But they've unveiled the next generation of theater snack-going vessels, Mike, and it is the Nacho boat. And if you are lucky enough to get a Nacho boat, you can get your nachos, probably the worst nachos known to man, at a movie theater, and put them into this little nacho boat and eat them festively while you're watching Moana 2. this fall.
Yeah, I'm finally taking a full like look at the boat now, and honestly, they got the nachos just like perfectly lined up in a row within this boat, and it looks like the top slides off, kind of revealing the nachos within the belly of the boat. So practically, I don't know exactly how this is going to work well, but I mean, if you're looking for like little hidden compartments to stash things within your home, you know, just send it through the dishwasher and you'll be able to hide things in there. But you know, we like innovation. It's not just about the popcorn buckets or the little fun little straw toppers on the cups. We're switching into other foods.
Yeah, so you know that was the first thing I thought of. I'm like, nacho boat, great, easy. What's next on our snack list that we could create a vessel for? And my first food, I went to hot dogs, Mike, and you did the same thing. You were like, hot dogs, something hot dogs. I'm like, absolutely. Hot dog is a movie snack for me because, you know, where if I'm going to sit here for 2 hours, I'm going to drink the nastiest, most sugar-filled drinks I can get and eat the most gross, unhealthy for you foods I can grab. So along with nachos, hot dogs were something. I was thinking chicken tenders was another thing I thought of as well because I've seen a lot of movie theaters go with the chicken tender meals, like something they could just microwave for you real fast. And then pretzels. Pretzels were the third. I love a good pretzel at a movie theater, Mike. So what food am I missing, or what would you do with these? Like, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm curious if maybe there's an innovative way to like hang like one of those like big Bavarian pretzels, you know, if you ever order those at like a gastro pub or something, there's always like that hook that like they usually put bananas on at home in your kitchen counter. Maybe there's some sort of like innovative hook technology that a pretzel could dangle from.
What if they had Maui's hook and that was upright and then you hung the pretzel off of it?
You're on to something here.
Yeah, I like that. I'm a big fan of pretzels and stuff like that. I actually went to Top Golf yesterday. I don't know if you've been, Mike, to a Top Golf. I assume you have.
I'm familiar, but never been.
Okay. So you know you're just playing. You're at a thing hitting a ball out toward these things. So all of our RFID theft technology's crazy, but you know they're bringing you more like bar foods and drinks while you're there, right? They want to like, feed you and do you. So I went for the pretzel bites like immediately. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna want these pretzel bites with. They always come with they had a white queso, which is delicious, but I like a nice tangy mustard with my pretzels. And now I'm hungry. Mike knows this is like we're in time zone change day. Normally this would be 7 p.m. for me, and like I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm like, I am so ready for dinner. So kicking the show off with food was like, you know, a big win for me, but also like, oh, I'm gonna regret this. Yeah, I'm gonna regret this later. Before we jump into anything else, Mike, I know you had a chance to watch Venom: The Last Dance. And not to beat this dead horse, I know you're not a fan of the franchise. You weren't a fan of the first one. You're not a fan of the second one, and I know you're not a fan of the third one. There's no hiding this. He wasn't a fan when he saw the first trailer. We all, whoever's listening, they know this. But did you have anything like that you wanted to put a spin on? Because obviously everyone out there is like either a fan of Venom or you hate Venom. There's no in betweens. But I know you watched it, and there was some cool stuff that you shared. I'm like, I don't know if you want to talk about the cool stuff or not.
The trilogy is remarkably consistent in a way, so I'll give them props for that. I don't know exactly how they achieve that, if they just keep the same creatives along, but third one just as underwhelming as every other one that I watched. But at least they kind of go all out in the third act, and like somehow they have like all of these different symbiotes, and I can't keep track of the lore of the plot of this movie anymore. Fine. And I didn't care where they came from or how they ended up in this science lab, but they are attaching to any random person, and you get like a cool kind of third act battle where I think there's at least like maybe half a dozen symbiotes just going ham on this like big alien creature.
There is a reference earlier where Chiwetel Ejiofor goes to this mysterious government guy. You never find out who this is. Like there's a lot of like just random people that are conveniently in places in this movie, and he's like, give me control of the 6, and he's like, fine, you can have them. And I'm like, oh my god, it's going to be those 6 symbiotes we saw, and they're going to be like special operations symbiotes, but they were just random fucking military dudes that had really no, I guess, connection to the symbiotes. I'm like, oh, but there were 6 symbiotes at the end there, and like they had different colors. Like, you know, one had like lightning speed, and one was like has like some big like blades and was like stabbing that big alien wood chipper alien in the neck a couple times.
Yeah. it's so weird when I think about the movie, you know, in hindsight, you know, you can't even say rose tinted glasses. I had like old musty dusty scented glasses on the whole time watching this
Mike
movie.
Mike went into it full of hate. He went in full of hate and came out the same way he went in.
What an incredibly underwhelming villain. Like I don't know what it is, and I kind of wanted to make collect an album of all these special type of aliens, of just like they're always like quadrupeds or some sort of like multi-legged just generic space alien. There's usually like a tail involved or some sort of extra appendage, like it's mixed with like a scorpion or something. Like I'm thinking like the like Thanos is like Outriders. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking the random Amazon Prime movie I watched with Chris Pratt like 2 years ago where he's fighting those things. Yeah, no. I'm thinking of like the creatures from like A Quiet Place bit, even though they're they're fleshed out like a little bit more now because they've had like 3 movies, and then this like
Kill Repeat or whatever it was, Live Die Repeat or whatever that movie was as well.
Yeah, so it's just like it's such an uninspired look at like alien creatures, and I wasn't expecting inspiration within Venom at all. But like, wow, did like I not care? What an underwhelming ending. Like there's kind of post-credit scene, but you know it doesn't. Who cares? And I was going to ask you, was this ever officially billed either in marketing or in, you know, promotional tours with like Tom Hardy saying like, this is my last outing. Officially, I'm done with Venom. Like, this is it for me. Or was it just kind of implied since it's a trilogy?
No,
he's probably not going to be coming back.
He said that, but again, this movie has made money more than it spent to make it. So I wouldn't say it's out of the question. However, I do believe this is it for maybe Sony's symbiotes for a little bit, and Marvel will probably take over with symbiotes. Starting with they just really don't make it feel very special. And what like an odd way to kind of introduce like Knolle in a way, and then not do. Well, they didn't really introduce him with him at all. Yeah.
I got familiar with the top of his forehead and his like scraggly hair, like.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, if you were like a fan of him or like know of him in the comics, like you're just gonna be like, it's just a dude spouting off some exposition at the beginning of the movie, and then threatening to do something at the end. So absolutely, there's not a whole lot there with what they did with what they were pitching as the main villain, even though he really didn't show up too much, right? Like it was not too much there. One thing we didn't talk about last week with it, the post-credits, or not the post-credits, the full credit scene, the animated credit scene are all the other animals they didn't venomize in the movie, being venomized the whole time. Did you watch any of that? Did you remember seeing the different creatures there?
Saw some of that. So whatever third, unit special effects house they hired to do those credits, they were the best part of the movie.
Yeah, so I really enjoyed the third act scene with the symbiotes. I wish they would have had more of like the story would have been like Venom met these 6 symbiotes who were bonded with this covert ops. Then he's like, no, we gotta prevent the thing coming. Like to have a story of like him turning the symbiotes to help him rather than them just being freed and being like, okay, big action scene. Now the last thing I will ask, the lady who got struck by lightning, did that really come into play at all? Did I miss it? I went to the bathroom once.
I don't. Okay, cool. I didn't comprehend.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I just double checking. Just kind of go through there. But yeah, so Mike, I'll watch that. And as I predicted, it did not change his mind. Speaking of movies that are tanking at the box office, Mike, or did tank at the box office, and now on home digital to purchase is Joker 2. Folie is now on digital purchase platforms if you didn't want to go to the theaters. I still wouldn't pay like $30 for this on a digital platform. Like I'd wait for it to hit Max in like 6 months, maybe, you think? Or something like that. Is Joker even on Max? I don't know where that lives. I'm going to use that Just Watch website that we always talk about.
This seems like the perfect type of movie that Zaslav will just like, who wants to buy it? We'll put it anywhere. I'm just trying to make my money back. Trying to make sure the stock price is as high as it can get before they fire me, because all of my compensation is tied up in the value of this company.
Oh, so it is on Max, and it's also on TNT and TBS if you have those streaming services. So I don't know if those come. I guess those come with your cable package, maybe when you buy them that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone who'd go out of their way to be like, yes, I want specifically the TBS streaming service. So there is that. But yeah, Joker 2, it'll probably be still in cinemas, $20, $25 for 4K, 20. Rent it for 20, buy for 25. Probably be on streaming in 6 months. If anyone's curious to watch that, as I watched it, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone to spend their money in theaters, or at least to own it digitally and have that stain on your digital shelf, unless you're a huge fan. I don't know. Moving into Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, the movie, the second DCU movie after Superman. It starts filming in January, and they've cast actress Eve Ridley, most recently seen in 3 Body Problem, as Ruthye Mary Knolle. And there is a book called Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow by Tom King. We've talked about it every time I bring this up. This character is ripped literally from this book. Her dad was killed by the character called the King of Krem, who was played by Matthias Schoenaerts. I'm probably butchering that last name. Who was cast in this movie as well, and she uses Supergirl to help get revenge on this character. So if you have not read Supergirl's Woman of Tomorrow, you'll probably have no idea about any of these characters, but I think they're literally just ripping this story off the page for this upcoming movie as well.
All right, cool.
And you watched 3 Body Problem, right?
Yeah, this is just a relatively inconsequential role. This is a young actress that I guess not inconsequential, but like she's like part of the fake video game in the movie, in the show, which I'm not going to explain. You just kind of have to watch the show. But yeah.
But she's
probably
young.
She'll probably be either looking up to Supergirl as a role model or be a little kid antagonist to Supergirl.
Well,
would be my guess.
Yeah, I think it'll be a half and half, because I think I pulled up her IMDb. I was like, she looks young, but you never know. Like people in Hollywood, like their photos, like do they make them look young so they could play younger roles, stuff like that. But like she's born in 2011, so she would be like maybe 13, 14 going into this movie. So she will be like you mentioned, a little kiddish, if you will. Yes, but we'll have more news on that when it starts filming next year. Shifting over to Star Wars, they dropped a Skeleton Crew trailer this week, and I was wondering, I was sitting there, I'm like, I wonder why Skeleton Crew. I'm like, oh, it's the next big Disney Plus property, right? There's like the Marvel / Star Wars, so there's a lot of crossover in those fandoms. So they once Agatha was on, Skeleton Crew comes up, which is coming out December 5th. I did update our page on Superhero Slate, the upcoming movies and TV shows with all the new news here that we're going to talk about. Skeleton Crew's December 3rd. So here at the end of the month. This trailer drops, it gives real, like, you know, I've seen a lot of people talk about like real Spielberg vibes, real Goonies vibes, like a 1980s, you know, the kids are off on an adventure. They meet some sort of adult who has to help them along the way, which is played by Jude Law. And the goal is to get back home. And they're probably going to learn about, you know, friendship and trusting each other along the way. And I'm getting real strong vibes with that, Mike, when I watch this trailer. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I just absolutely love how this has a point of view to it. It kind of is like that breath of fresh air when, I mean, I know some people had issues with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but you can't lie, when you watch that, it feels like a movie that has a creative point of view and aesthetic to it. So I love that Skeleton Crew seems to have it. We talked about this before on the show about how this is kind of a passion project in a way, of it was just kind of pitched by the director to, I think it was Jon Favreau, just on the set of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, let's do it. So I love how this was just born out of passion. It wasn't just like, oh, we need to put a Star Wars show on Disney Plus, so let's just make something real quick. And it's just, it feels so different. Like, I feel like the Star Wars stuff gets better when it gets smaller in a way. You know, Rogue One feels small because, you know, some of the best episodes are just about prisons and the prisoners in a cell, you know, and this is just about like,
Andor,
you know,
sorry.
kids. Andor, what did I? Rogue One.
Rogue One. I was like, Rogue One had episodes. I'm like, oh.
Like,
Yeah.
This just feels like, kids, in a neighborhood that happen to live in a galaxy. And honestly, it feels truthful in a way of just like, yeah, if you look at a gigantic life on a galaxy scale, there is just going to be like neighborhoods and like kids just like going to school and like having adventures. So I'm excited for this point of view. And of course, I really need my helpful timeline because I have no idea where this takes place. Theoretically, who these kids could bump into, is Luke old is Luke Skywalker is kind of helpful.
It is in tandem with The Mandalorian season 2, because there's that one pirate dude on the
that's
town
right.
who makes an appearance in here. The guy who I can't think, is it Jaleel White, played Urkel. He's in this as a villain. They're really leaning into some, New Hope creature designs and stuff because they're on an outer rim, right? Like this is like pirate planets and all this other stuff, and these kids are getting up to stuff. It's not, not used to their city living, as you mentioned, in their kind of thing. So I'm very interested to see this. It looks fun.
It just feels like cheerful. Like Ahsoka left such a bad taste in my mouth because Ahsoka and her Padawan, I can't remember her name with the purple hair off the top of my head.
Sabine.
They were Sabine. They were just so dour the whole time. Yeah. For two characters that were supposed to have such a history and a relationship, they were just like so like cold and analytical the whole show. Like, where is all like the excitement? Even when you find Ezra long lost in a different galaxy, technically, like no one's even like hugging or embracing each other, and like this just feels like there's a lot of like emotion and vibes and energy. So long story short, this trailer was exciting to me.
Yeah, and I think the show I don't think it's going to tie in anything else. Now, I'm not saying it won't. Kids getting a spaceship flying to a random point is kind of how, it's kind of what happened to Ahsoka and Sabine there, like that random planet that Thrawn was at. So, like, there's no guarantee that they'll cross paths with anybody even, right, in this area. It may just be like, oh, this is not really a spin-off, but, like, there's that pirate character who has some attachment here, but, like, I don't think we're going to see anybody here. I would say the only person I would say maybe shows up would be Mandalorian if he's doing, like, some bounty hunter stuff and looking for that one dude. Or like this, I guess thing of space pirates. I like the droid in this. He seemed fun. The droid in this, and I guess maybe he's piloting the ship or something along the way, telling the kids what to do. Seems pretty interesting. So I'm excited. Like I said, there's really, other than maybe just knowing what Star Wars is, I would also say there's probably no homework for this show, right? Like it seems very self-contained, just in the Star Wars universe, which is a big plus. For that. So check out that trailer in the show notes. And again, that comes out, I'm going to put here, December 3rd, 2025. That's in the show notes. That way people looking for it, they can refer back to that on Disney Plus. Got to get that subscription because they're trying to drop some new content every month. We'll talk about it here in a second. But one of those things is from Marvel Studios, and we'll get into this trailer that came out. And I broke it down by different parts, Mike, for this Marvel Studios trailer. So we can either talk about the whole thing real fast, or we can talk about the different pieces and another event that they might show this at in a week or so. So do you have a preference?
I would just jump on in and just, I think we're kind of kick off with the first major part, which is Daredevil. Which, whether there's really new bits in there, it's kind of hard to say. It feels like all the clips I see of the new Daredevil show just feel like I'm watching more Netflix Daredevil, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's nothing like huge to pull out of it. I think there might be like a more clearer shot of the villain Muse in it, but beyond that, it just kind of looks like more like awesome Daredevil action. I think maybe there's an additional shot of John Bernthal as Punisher, but you're just kind of getting more of what we saw before. I think the first kind of new thing that pops up I'm trying to remember what's like the first new thing in here.
Well, so this trailer, let's go ahead. I'm going to jump into what we were talking where it might be. So I think this is going to be, we got this right before Agatha to show, hey, Agatha's done. There's still stuff coming to Disney Plus because my wife reminded me our Disney Plus subscription expires in November for our yearly purchase because remember it came out in October of 2020, I believe, with Mandalorian, right? So I was like, okay, so November we got to renew it, and I'm like, okay, why would we renew it? What content's on here? Of course we're going to get it. We use it all the time. But I think that's what it is. But also this weekend is D23 Brazil, Mike, and I want to bring this up because I think they're going to show this trailer again, or maybe even a version of it at D23 Brazil. But correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time D23 has been specifically curated for Brazil or South American countries.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah, I believe that's true. But we do know, just after doing this show for nearly 500 episodes, the conventions down in South America always shock and surprise us. They're never on our radar until they're like 1 week away. Then all of a sudden we're getting like huge announcements out of nowhere, which is why I thought this trailer originally was some sort of like South American convention. So I always forget the studios really go out hard. You know, they're there to entertain and wow this market and demographic. And we're all here for it because we love getting these announcements. So hopefully we get something like brand new out of this.
Yeah, so what the rumor content that I've seen is Fantastic Four, a special look, Daredevil Born Again, obviously, Captain America Brave New World, and or Season 2 first look, which I was hoping, which I think we will get a trailer for that after Skeleton Crew wraps up, Mike. I think that'll get our first and or Season 2, right? Because I don't know of any other Star Wars show in production over there. So I think that'll be great. A Mandalorian and Grogu movie first look, and then obviously a Tron Ares D23 trailer. So I don't know if any of this will be good, but I think taking this, other than Daredevil Born Again, so taking this upcoming 2025 release trailer there, they may even bring some of the actors on stage, right? Or like while they talk about them and kind of expand on what these things are, because this is dropped on YouTube. We didn't have anybody talking about it. We don't have Brad Winderbaum of Marvel Television coming out and telling everybody this is what we're doing and why we're doing it. There's also some movies in here. I don't think they're going to bring the Fantastic Four down. But boy, next week, I am going to be looking for leaked content like it's nobody's business, if you will. So pretty excited for that. But I would say the first big thing on this trailer outside of all this new content, Mike, unless you had something else about D23 Brazil, is the confirmation of Deadpool and Wolverine coming to Disney Plus on November 12th.
I think we all knew that was coming. You could kind of read the tea leaves and just look at, count the weeks out from its PVOD release. So, but you're talking about November. That's a lot of subscription renewals. So Deadpool on the platform is a good move for them.
The biggest movie, one of the biggest movies of the year. This and what was the Inside Out 2, right? I think for Disney, and both of these dropping in the fall. This will be great. I fully expect this to be on my family's television on Thanksgiving. Like, someone's always watching movies. Most of the time, like I mentioned before, it's John Wick or something of those. I 100% know Deadpool and Wolverine will be on my family's television while everyone's sitting around in different rooms. So that's really exciting for that. I'm excited to I got my Steelbook in last week, and as we talked about the Steelbook releases last week, Mike, I have such a sour taste in my mouth because I showed Mike the pricing of these upcoming seasons, and it was $85+ for 6 episodes of a television show in a Steelbook. That is like what, 3/4 of a yearly Disney Plus subscription. So they're really pushing the collectors to the limits on this. I didn't actually end up not buying it. I didn't pull the trigger yet. Hopefully they go down in price, but anyway, Deadpool and Wolverine coming out less than 2 weeks on Disney Plus. Get ready for it. Something we've talked about, but I had heard rumored was pushed back a year is What If Season 3, confirmed to be dropping December 22nd on Disney Plus, Mike, and it is a reminder of the final season of the show. So it looks like they're going to be ending it with see what kind of bang they're going to end this one with, right? What multiversal threat are they going to end and then send off into the sunset here?
Yeah, I feel like are they gonna try to like tie it up nicely? Are they gonna leave it a little open ended, like letting us know like, oh, the multiverse it's fluctuating, it's crazy out there. Get ready for the rest of the cinematic movies. We'll see. But it was an exciting first outing for Marvel Animation. And, it's been fun.
Yeah, I think the second, I think we talked about the second season really got better with the really shaking things up, right? Because that first one was like, oh, like what if just one small thing changed, and they really started getting different. Like, I really enjoyed like the 1602 version of Marvel, right? We talked about in that one. This one we see it looks like to be the mech suits. We've been teased with the mech suits, and like an army of Odin and Hela versus or Odin and the Dark Elves versus somebody else, and then we get to see Cowboy Shang-Chi. Mike, I don't know if you caught that little clip along the way. So very excited to kind of see what those teases kind of throw at us with What If when this drop in December. Do you think they're going to do it daily? I think they'll do it daily again, like they did last Christmas. Like,
oh yeah, they could. Yeah,
I think that'll be a fun little winter break daily drop there. Something else that we hadn't really had a release date for, we just knew it was coming soon, was Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the upcoming animated show. And we got a confirmation that is coming in January. And it's going to hit January 25th on Disney+. And we got to see, we've seen the trailer a little bit in motion, but it's kind of fun to see a little bit more of it, like him swinging through the city, some of the dynamic action styles as he's fighting somebody in an alleyway. I don't know what to expect with this, Mike. I really, my expectations are just nebulous because I don't know what we're going to get into here, being a very, very alternate universe scenarios with Spider-Man going on here.
Yeah, the art style looks pretty slick and graphic, so I'm curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah. They've really been working on this, and it's gone through different names. Spider-Man was freshman year. It was its original title. Stuff like that. We'll see if we get any more seasons beyond this or not. But yeah, you can check out that footage in the trailer linked above. Moving on, another animated show that I had not thought of in a hot minute, even though we know it was coming, was Eyes of Wakanda. I think three-part series. It's a very short episode count animated series that takes us on like the journey of the history of Wakanda. And I was really, we hadn't seen visuals at all, and it really, kind of, when we got to see some of it here with the different, like a different kind of, like is it an older Black Panther, you think, like maybe like a couple hundred years ago, with some other scenes. It really has a unique, it's not painting style, Mike, what would you call this art style here? It doesn't match anything else that Marvel's done yet.
I'm trying to think if there's any analogs or anything comparable that I've seen out there. It kind of felt a little League of Legends Arcane.
Arcane.
Just with, like, with the proportions of the bodies a little bit. But it looks exciting. Like the biggest kind of question and gripe I've had with the Wakanda universe is I just want to see more of Wakanda. I feel like we only ever see like throne rooms or big open fields outside. So I'll be happy to kind of dive in a little bit more and see the city.
Yeah, and it looks like kind of like going through it a little bit, like there will be there's like a team of 5 people. It looks like maybe different cultures, heroes from the past, like not just necessarily Wakanda. There's someone who's like very, very pale and white, and it looks like maybe they are possibly a villain later. There's some sort of fight going on, so I'm excited to see what this kind of plays out. I don't know much about it, but like you mentioned, this is a show that was born kind of from Ryan Coogler and the guy someone who storyboarded some of the What If stuff. So I think this maybe be the director. So I'm really excited to see that direction come to life here, because it doesn't feel like an extension of What If or that kind of art style along the way. We also got the logo reveal. I always keep the logos in here in case anybody wants to see them, because there are a lot of people who try to make fake logos online, like, oh, look at the new logo. I'm like, that's not the real logo. Don't do that to us. Moving on, Ironheart. We're back to live action. We never got an official Ironheart trailer, did we, Mike? It was all leaked stuff from San Diego. So we got our first official look at Ironheart here, and I really like the suit design that I've seen here. That was not in the San Diego trailer. The bigger white suit with the eyes. It feels like it's she's not just doing the same thing she did in Wakanda Forever. It's like her own style of suit, not based on Wakandan tech. It's big, it's bulky. A truck hits her at full force, kind of thing. I want to see what she's doing with this.
It's the Star Wars like lightsaber cheat code in my head, where like I'm always down for lightsabers and I'm always down for mech suits. We don't get a whole lot of like mech suits here in Western entertainment. It's pretty much just been Iron Man, and I can't really think of any more.
Oh, it's the kaiju
Pacific
movie.
Rim.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, Pacific Rim. So just any addition to that over here is exciting. So yeah, the suit it looks slick. It feels different than Iron Man, but also it seems like at least functional. It fits within the universe of the MCU. So I'm excited to see more of that.
Yeah, and there's an earlier prototype suit, and then also we get to see a little bit of Anthony Ramos, who's playing the Red Hood. And I think from the leaked trailer we saw, he's like infected by something. Like I don't know if it's like he's like this Red Hood suit is like demonic powered or something like that. So I don't know if it's like, is it like a tattoos or an infection kind of thing. So we'll see kind of when that plays out. But if you're looking for your first clip of Ironheart, we have it here in the middle of this trailer. Marvel Zombies, Mike, they have been promising this since the first season of What If, right? This is truly a spinoff of What If, and we got our first look here, and it's the same art style as we saw in Marvel Zombies. They have the red eyes. We get to see some Wakandans, the Abomination, Black Widows, but I would say, obviously Captain America, but I would say there's one scene in there with someone with white eyes and a face mask on, Mike. Were you able to glean that from this or see that online?
I mean, visually, I didn't glean anything until people started telling me it was Blade.
Yes,
I think, is it actually Mahershala Ali's voice?
I've heard it's Mahershala Ali's voice, and he is this universe's, Marvel Zombies universe, Moon Knight. So it is Blade with Moon Knight powers in this universe for Marvel Zombies. So that is, yeah. And then we get to see obviously Thanos with his Infinity Gauntlet, Zombie Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. But it is, it looks really, really cool.
They really thought that Blade movie was going to be out by now.
Yeah, they did. But it's fine. I mean, I'm. It's even if it's not, it's still not going to be our Blade. But he's wearing a mask. I'm like, I wonder if even though the world is overrun by zombies, he's still hiding that he's like part vampire, right? Like the other stuff in there. I think it's a shorter episode as well. I don't know. I don't think it's a full 6 to 9 animated episodes. I think it's like maybe 3 to 5. But I'd be excited to revisit this universe. We kind of left on a cliffhanger. We got some cool stuff, and would love to get back there. Now, do you remember, did What If Season 1 come out before Multiverse of Madness? I'm going to have to go to our release schedules.
I think so.
I think so, because it had the undead Scarlet Witch, which was really, really cool in that one. I would love to see if they do anything else with her along the way. So you can check out that section in the trailer also above. Lastly, surprise. This is the biggest. To me, this is the biggest surprise, Mike. You asked what the biggest surprise was. Wonder Man. We got to see our first clip, a small clip of Wonder Man, and then a sizzle reel. It's the actor. I can't think of his name. He was in Black Man and Aquaman. He was Dr. Manhattan in the Watchmen TV series. But he shows up and he's reading for the part of Wonder Man. So my take on this, and I think I put it in the notes here, is that it seems to be about a man trying to get the role of Wonder Man in a fictional MCU set movie rather than Wonder Man being an actor in the MCU proper.
Yeah,
right?
I kind of get the. I mean, I don't know exactly what the plot here is, but it looks like. I think the synopsis is what does this version of Hollywood look like if superheroes existed? So It looks like Hollywood wants to start telling their own superhero stories, and they're casting somebody named Wonder Man. And I think this man is just theoretically going to also be superpowered. So I think hijinks will ensue. It's kind of maybe one of the longer parts of the sizzle reel. Yeah. If I recall correctly, but it looked fun. I love the actor. I wish I could recall his name, but we'll learn it by the time the show comes out and we're talking about it on our show.
It's like
we'll learn his name.
Yahya Abdin Matul something the second. But yeah, absolutely. Well, and then also Ben Kingsley returning as Trevor in this as well.
Mm-hmm.
This is, to me, again, Brad Winterbaum, he was out, I think it was for the end of Agatha. He reiterated that this is a Marvel Spotlight banner and is less connected to the larger MCU without homework, kind of like how Echo was at the beginning of this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Echo was a spinoff of Hawkeye, so maybe you watch a little Hawkeye, but that would be about it. Echo wasn't really that disconnected. It had Kingpin in it. Now he's in Daredevil. But this looks fun. This looks like a very different, like you said, a different side of MCU. Like, here's Hollywood. Here's, the Hollywood movie making machine in a world that's had superheroes, like you said. And it's, the showrunner, I guess maybe the director of the first episode was Destin Daniel Cretton, who's, obviously confirmed to be directing Spider-Man 4. So, Marvel likes what he does, so we'll see how this turns out for his second outing over there. I also someone was like, did they just use, was it Times New Roman for his font though, for his logo? I was like, maybe they did. I don't know. But yeah, that clip's at the end of it, at the end of the sizzle reel, so you can check that out as well. Last bit of Marvel news, Mike. This is interesting. And I asked you about this, and I think just a bunch of misinformation on the internet, and that's how it seems to work these days. But a puppeteer who originally said he was the puppeteer for Herbie, the robot for Fantastic Four, which we've talked about, has listed Fantastic Four First Contact on his LinkedIn profile instead of what's the name of the actual movie? I forgot it because I put
First Steps, I think.
First Steps. So, number one, First Contact is a Star Trek movie, and obviously the people at Marvel are big Star Trek fans, but I don't think they're going to change the title of the movie they just unveiled, even though it's been done before. Absolutely. First Steps is not a bad title, but I had one theory that it's either an internal working title for the movie, that is something that's used internally and he hasn't updated it yet, or if he's a puppeteer, maybe it's an in-universe movie about the Fantastic Four. So we're watching Fantastic Four First Steps, and they're making a movie in there called Fantastic Four First Contact, which is a puppet movie inside the movie.
Maybe it could be. This is obviously somebody that thinks that they found the scoop of the century on LinkedIn, and
yeah.
I feel like LinkedIn is the last place you're going to find any sort of scoop of the century. So I wouldn't think about this one too much.
Well, the whole thing is, the whole reason is blown up even more is like the person corrected. They said Herbie, took Herbie off, said undisclosed puppet. Fantastic Four First Contact. They were like, well, why did they update the name but not First Contact? I'm like, most of these people who work in these shows don't care this much, right? That's a job for them. They're not obsessed with the content they're working on. They're like, I go to work and I come home and I don't want to talk about what I work on, kind of thing. Like, so I assume they don't care, and he just put something there and it's wrong, and he just thought First Contact. If we want to get into the nitty gritty, they're probably not going to change the title to First Contact, but who knows? Anything could happen at this point in time, right, Mike? They're like literally in the middle of filming it. They could change stuff and still go down that road. So, it would be nice to know that Herbie's a puppet rather than a full CGI character. I would like to see what it looks like. Maybe he's like cool. They do the Star Trek droid, like it's not Star Trek, Star Wars droid kind of scenario where like there's like an onset one that moves around a little bit, and they touch him up with CG later. So I don't know. We'll see. We need to get some teaser footage from that one. Moving on. Did you watch Godzilla -1 yet this year?
Have not yet, but okay. I have heard nothing but glowing things about the movie. Yeah. I know, well known for being executed very well. Mm-hmm. I believe the director was also the visual effects person too. So always a good trend when you kind of have one professional that moves into directing. That's why the John Wick movies are so good, because you have these stunt coordinators moving into directing. You have these VFX people moving into directing. Actors that move into directing usually creates good content. Yeah.
It's just someone with the skill set, with a different eye to kind of bring it to the top there. So Godzilla -1, it did win Best Special Effects at the Academy Awards earlier this year. It also was touted as one of the cheapest visual effects movies like ever made. But in Japan, the movie studio, they don't have a Hollywood. It's a little different over there. So they do shoot things a little differently. But a movie sequel or follow-up has been greenlit with returning director Takashi Yamazaki coming back to work on this. Now, couple things I want to asterisk here, Mike, because I was in a Godzilla kick while the new movie came out this year, and then the Apple show was a Monarch Legacy of Monsters, and then obviously -1. So Godzilla movies, there are several different timelines. Godzilla -1 is not in its own. It's in its own timeline. There is no other Godzilla movie around it. Shin Godzilla, which was the Godzilla movie before this, is its own little set movie. It does not connect to any other Godzilla movies around it. So if this is going forward, it does not mean that it's Godzilla -2 or some other sequel to this. It could just be the next Godzilla film that they've written a Godzilla story about, and they just decide to make it. I've
given up trying to understand sequels and spin-offs and reboots of Japanese media. It's exhausting as a anime fan
because they don't
back
care
in the day.
Because they just don't care.
Yeah, before the internet was like really a thing, and you have like these OVAs and all of these things of like, oh, we recreated the last half of the show because we wanted to go back to the source material of the manga. It's like, yeah. So
well,
it's kind of like
that,
I'll just wait and see.
Well, Full Metal Alchemist had like a whole series that was a remake of the series again. All the Dragon Ball Z movies before 2014 are not actually Dragon Ball stories. They're just like, oh, we just made this fun little story and animated it. And you're like, that's really cool. How does it fit into this? It doesn't. Even better. So you just have fun watching it. But yeah, I think that's fine. I think, like I said, the industry over there, how they make stuff. It's if he wants to make a good Godzilla movie that's not necessarily a sequel, go for it, right? Like we're all down for good movies. So I'm just happy Godzilla's getting a renaissance because I remember staying up late at like when I had to spend the night at my grandparents, and the only thing we could watch was like find these old movie channels, and 9 out of 10 of them were like kaiju or Godzilla adjacent films. Not even the good ones, like the real bad ones, but it just has like a nostalgic effect for me along the way. Okay, so we're at the end of the show here. Last couple minutes, we will talk about Agatha All Along, and I think we're just going to go ahead and say, Mike, the show has been out. I think 6 weeks. I think it was out for 6 weeks. So the whole series is out. We'll talk about probably full spoilers. There's no need to do 2 different points of this. If you probably either watched it by now or not watched it by now, one of the two. There's a lot of numbers for the show popping up at the end, so you might be watching. Probably if you're listening to the show, you probably at least watched a couple episodes, if not the first towards the last. So we're gonna talk about Agatha All Along. Again, full disclosure, full spoilers, kind of going into this. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. I always hate coming in reviews because I never know how to start these things with you, Mike. It's one way or the other. So
I can kick it off if you want.
Well, I think the thing is, yeah, go ahead and kick it off. I don't know how to start these things, so go right ahead.
This is like a tale of 2 stories for me. The first story is, I think, the reception out in the world, which to me is really exciting. It's the thing I always really like about Hollywood and the entertainment industry is like you just never know what's going to kick off and what isn't, what's going to be a hit, what's going to fly under the radar. And I don't think anyone expected Agatha All Along to do what as well as it did. It was critically well received. The fans loved it. It was doing good numbers on Disney Plus. Like, we're not talking about like a show that wasn't getting butts in seats. Like, people were sitting down and watching this every week, and the audience was growing, and people were liking it so much so that Marvel cut an entire sizzle reel to put in front of the very last 2 episodes of the show. Like, there is a reality out there where if this show didn't do good, they either would have moved this trailer to some other point, or they wouldn't have appended it to the season finale of the show. They would have done it
at Brazil, like they probably planned.
Yeah. Like, I truly believe that. So I think that is a really fun and exciting. And, I could see all of that happening and building through my social media feed over the last couple weeks. And if you were listening to the show, when we would talk about it, I wasn't that big of a fan. I mean, I wasn't hating the show, but it wasn't engaging me as much as everyone else seemed to be really liking it on the internet. So I was like, well, what's going on here? Like, why is it not getting its teeth into me? But then the mid-season finale, the mid-season like point finally hits, and we finally exit the Witch's Road, and we kind of get to see more of like, oh, where did we leave off on WandaVision? We're back out into the MCU, the world at large. We're not in Westview anymore. We're on a town on the outside of Westview who's like dealing with like this hex. What is it like to be just the town, one town over, dealing with like the news and having your bar mitzvah? So I was like, yes, this is where I want to be. I want to be back in the world that we've built for so long. It can still be with these characters. I don't mind these characters, but like the Witch's Road was just like really rubbing me wrong, like to the point of even the production design. I was like, even the leaves on the ground look fake, like they picked them up at a party store. I was like, why does this look so weird? And also, I hated the concept of the Witch's Road because if you're a seasoned listener of Superhero Slate, I have a big bug up my ass about all of these dimensions and realms that they keep slapping onto the MCU and not really explaining. So I was like, oh, great. We have a whole nother one here with like these witches, and like no one's like bothering to rein all this in. Well, and finally in the finale, we have like this big twist that's suddenly starting to single-handedly fix every problem that I have with the show. I'm like, what is happening here? Are they redeeming this show right in front of my very eyes? To me, it was really fun for me to see that happen. You know, even down to the leaf, Chris. The leaf that annoyed me was because it was a decoration in his bedroom. And I'm like, oh my God, like this show was so much more thought out than it appears to be at the beginning. So I'm so glad that they were able to get people hooked and keep watching, because I almost fell off of the show. You even thought I did. We weren't even going to talk about it.
Oh yeah, I didn't even have it on the list here. I was like,
yeah.
I know how you felt halfway through, and I'm like, I don't even gonna bring it up.
Because we hadn't even been talking about the show. And then I love that the ending has this totally untraditional ending. Like Agatha ends up as a freaking ghost. I mean, like, I love that. Like, that's such a clever way to keep the character going, but like, not just like, oh, she's a bad guy, but she redeems herself, so now she gets to live and continue on in her adventure. Like, no, she's a ghost and she has like old gray hair and like she's sassy, and it's just
well, it's interesting because number one, like you mentioned, they don't redeem her really at the end, right? She's still a bad person, like tagging along with Billy. Like she's selfish desires. But two, that is her comic book look that she was always had in the comic books. She never looked like Catherine Hahn. She was never young. She was always an old lady with gray hair and purple outfits. And even more so in the Midnight Suns game recently, she is a ghost in the I guess the castle where your home base is. So she provides you clues as a ghost in her old lady gray hair purple outfit. So I'm like, oh, they found a way to transition her into her comic book version, who does kind of go along with, you know, facilitating the Scarlet Witch's children without having to be like it wasn't like a long reach. They were able to do it, like you said, like one fell swoop there, which was still a fun little reveal at the end episode. Like I was like, oh, they really aged her up and made her ghost. Like they're just gonna go have some fun with it. I've enjoyed the show, but like to me, it's like, I guess to your point, it's always felt campy to me. Like along the way, like it felt like a camp show right at the beginning. Like oh, they, you know, the first episode. I know you had a problem with like her acting and the accent. It was fun to revisit that halfway through the show whenever they came back and showed it from Billy's vision. Yeah, you're like, oh, she is literally just living in a made up world from Wanda, and she's like kind of being crazy and stuff like that. So it was fun to see. I will say I really enjoyed the show. I think the characters, if the characters and the actors weren't as strong together in like their relationships on the show, like how they, you know, their camaraderie, I probably wouldn't have had as much fun. But I think the characters work together really well along the way, and obviously the reveal that Billy is Wanda's son, that was twist one of a multi-twist show. I'm glad they didn't hold that till the end. I could see like in lesser hands and be like, we're gonna do the whole show, and then at the end reveal that it's, you know, it is Wanda's son. So it was great to see that. They really killed people and they stayed dead in this. But I will say that despite my love for Aubrey Plaza and how great she played as a crazy green witch who was ultimately death of this realm or universe or whatever, her backstory and explanations were very, very not, I guess, presented very well, if you will. I would love to see more about her, but like everything else around that, other than that, I'm like, this is great. This was a really, really fun time.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza was a sticking point for my wife, and I'll introduce her evidence into the trial because she was digging the show the entire time. She was on board from episode 1, and I had to be convinced. But even her, by the very end, was saying, I don't know if Aubrey Plaza is just going to have this problem with her entire career of trying to break free of the April role that she played in Parks and Rec, or if she's just going to be perpetually kind of snarky for the rest of her career. But it just kind of felt like a miscast for my wife, and me as well, where I just never felt like she was a threat in a way of like, it just, she always seemed like she was going to be like jokey and snarky, and she would get in Agatha's face and like threaten with a dagger, but I never felt like she would follow through.
So
at the very end,
yeah.
I kind of really had to be convinced that like, oh no, this is actually she is going to kill her.
I never watched Parks and Rec, so I don't understand the April thing. I watched her from Legion, so I 100% believe her as Death. Like I'm like I believe her as crazy in Death. So I have the complete opposite experience and purview of her. But her relationship with Agatha was never explained, I think, is my like we get to the episode 6 where Agatha has a son, and she's like, all I can give you is time. I'm like, okay, well, how did she have a kid if that's like her love? Like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's her relationship? Kind of here getting up to this. I really enjoyed the episode. I don't know if it affected you as a father of a young child, Mike. Like that whole growing up and like always on the run kind of thing. It was very touching.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely shows you like it's a great way to motivate a character is to put a child in harm's way or grief. Such an easy way to explain bad or evil behavior because you could see that happening.
Yeah,
it just
I just wish that
like that last episode
that they should have built that relationship into that episode, right? Like that is what
and they tried, but it just they. I don't, but that last episode was great, even though it was like a whole flashback, which would normally kind of rub me the wrong way. So it was like a flashback mixed with felt like half the episode was almost like post-credit scene in a way. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just what a show, what a wild way to redeem itself. I'm excited to see them go out and find his brother wherever he may be. Is it going to be in Vision Quest? I don't know, but. Just what a crazy way to bring me around. I wouldn't say I'm like A+ on the show out of nowhere, but boy did I go from just kind of like not caring about the show to being invested at the very end. So I would say that was exciting for me.
Well, you've always said this is the first show. Like, did this have any? It was announced during the Chapek era. Could it redeem itself, right? And having Echo in this show this year, I think have been. Showing that Marvel Television is turning themselves around. This is not the same Falcon and Winter Soldier shows that we started with, right? Shows that were just kind of spinning the bulls.
They got their own logo now. That Marvel Television logo shows up 1,000 times in that sizzle reel.
They got their own sizzle reel. I mean, that's saying something. They've got the animation, Marvel Animation. They got Marvel Television coming out. I've got good hopes. The showrunner for WandaVision in this, Jack Schaefer, I really hope they give her something else to do. She's not doing Vision. That's somebody else, but I would love to see it because you bring it up, and I think it's an important here. WandaVision, or not WandaVision, Agatha All Along, is that you feel her vision in this. It's what she wanted to make, right, the whole time. Like, it doesn't feel like they were like trying to shoehorn things in, or like, oh, it's got to fit stuff we did already. Like, it feels like Jack Schaefer, she's like, I know the story I want to tell, I know the twist I want to tell, and I know how I want these characters to be, because I look forward to more Billy. I look forward to more Agatha. Jennifer Kale, the one witch who did live. How's she going to come back into this? Is it going to be a Midnight Suns kind of thing?
Apparently, I saw that. Apparently, that's like Ghost Rider's cousin or something. I don't know if that'll be canon in the MCU, but she's maybe flying off to find Johnny, maybe.
Yeah, I doubt that. But either way, they left her alive for a reason. So I want to know. To me, we talk about people coming in and laying their fingerprints on it and leaving a good impression. I want to know what Jack Schaefer's got next. What is up her sleeve, and how will she get us all on board with this? Because she did it with WandaVision in a very different scenario. She was able to do it here, and what's next along the way. But I think it's great. I think you got to watch WandaVision and Doctor Strange to go into this. Someone did ask me that when the show started. I'm like, yes, you need to watch those two shows. Then you can watch this and then kind of see where it goes. I think Vision will be next, Mike, along the way, unless they somehow get that WandaVision or Wanda movie in somehow before we realize it's under our noses. So, if nothing else, Mike, why don't you let people know what you're up to, where you're at?
Well, yeah, they can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com and liferewardsrisk.com. Chris, people want to catch you. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or Video Game Systems of the same name. People want to know about the show, what we're doing, what we're up to. Come back every week for show notes or the latest news. Where can they get all them good stuff at?
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet this week. As Chris mentioned, I do have a child in this house, and they are being very persnickety today. So I would just tell everyone to visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show. Got our awesome show notes. And if you want to be a super fan of Superhero Slate, so easy to do. All you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.